Okay, so just a quick recap then. So what is Tū Manawa? Tū Manawa Active Aotearoa is a $68 million activation fund over 4 years. It's brand new and basically replacing or repurposing Kiwi Sport. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about that. Kiwi Sport's been around since about 2009. It's managed and distributed locally by regional sports trusts, so Sport Waitākere, Sport Auckland, Harbour Sport and CLM in Auckland and active. And it's available for new and existing projects and programs. The initial funding will be for 1 year. This is in response to COVID. So I did just mention it's a 4-year project, but initially that we're just looking for projects to support people to get active again in the year, I want to say post-COVID, but it's not quite post-COVID yet, but certainly over the next 12 months. And there's a couple of priority groups, and from research are the ones that are more at risk of missing out. So those are children and young people in higher deprivation communities, age 5 to 18, girls and young women, 5 to 24, and disabled young people, 5 to 18 as well. Actually, for the next 12 months, that children and young people age has actually been moved out to 24. So it gives you a bit more scope for your project in terms of what communities you're aiming to affect. What's different from Kiwi Sport? So for those who've maybe accessed Kiwi Sport before, the focus has been broadened. So it was just organised sport previously. Now we're looking at play and active recreation. The focus is really tighter around this notion of quality. So really making sure that the things that are delivered and the people that are delivering them are of really high quality. So the experience our young people have is such a good experience that they come back for more and more. It's insights, physical literacy, and locally led. So these are 3 approaches from Sport New Zealand that are about really understanding fundamentally what the community that you're trying to target are wanting to access, and that it's done in a way that is a age and stage appropriate manner. So it's not activities that are maybe too elite or too hard for people to pick up. It's very much targeted at the, I guess, the physical ability that that they show at whatever level. Greater clarity around the in-school delivery space. So there was a lot of conversation about the curriculum space and how sport, physical activity and those kind of things really need to align with what the school is trying to deliver in its curriculum, not just sport replacing things like PE, etc. It's actually still making sure there's a real keen focus on children learning in that in-curriculum time. Each program, to me, a really clearly identified needs. So that's one of the conversations we're going to have a bit later on. Javid from our office is going to take that conversation. And there's a lot more money in the pot. So previously there was there was 8.5 million. That's a lot, but now it's almost doubled to 16 million. So we're really kind of excited to have a lot more money in West Auckland. I'll come on to those numbers shortly. We've also got a distinct assessment process and target for kaupapa Māori organisations and kaupapa Māori projects. So if you feel like you're going to be targeting our Māori communities and delivering things in a kaupapa Māori way, then we'd be really interested to speak to you and really keen to develop that idea further. Okay, so what can be funded? Programs and projects based on identified needs. That'll come up again and again. A program or project, you know, looking at venue or equipment hire or transport to events. So those things that to break down the barriers of people accessing sport physical activity. Equipment, just mentioned then. Officials, where these are required for delivery. Delivery staff wages that are directly attributable to the project. So just paying administrators won't fly with Tū Manawa funding. However, those little administration bits and pieces that are directly attributable to making the project tick are eligible for funding. Previously it was new projects, but new or existing projects can be funded in the new funding round, and anything innovative or creative that's doing things differently to engage our rangatahi and tamariki, we're really, really interested in. What can't be funded? Cost of any programs or events that have already been completed, so anything retrospective cannot be funded. At this stage, multi-year programs cannot be funded, so it'll be one year from the day your application is successful. The delivery will need to happen. Any costs associated with any professional, you know, teams, sports academies, or anything representative, so it really needs to be targeted at grassroots. Any capital costs? Unfortunately, you can't build yourself a new swimming pool with this money just yet. I'm not sure it's quite enough for that, but no building of any facilities or playgrounds, etc. I mentioned administration costs and ongoing costs, so your fixed costs like rent and power, etc. It can't pay for those things. Wages or annual salaries for staff who are not involved in the project. Any medals, prizes, giveaways, or spot prizes, and unfortunately, any organisation who currently receives Sport New Zealand Investment Partnership, you can't apply either. However, if you think that that is you or isn't you, or you're a bit confused, then do let us know, because we're happy to explain that a bit better. You should know if you are funded, because generally it's significant amounts of money. In terms of the fund for West Auckland then, so we've been fortunate to get just over $1 million. You see there 1.014 million. And at the moment we've split it up into two funds, the local fund, which is for applications over $10,000, and the fast fund, which is under $10,000. So that split at the moment is essentially an 80%, 20% split. However, we're looking to review that at the moment to confirm that. But either way, there's going to be an awful lot of funds accessible to the community in there. For those of you who might be applying elsewhere, you might not be in West Auckland, just an idea of the funds that do exist out in the other areas. So in counties Manukau, Te Manawa is administrated by CLM Community Sport. They've got just under $2 million out there. On the shore, Harbour Sport, 196,000. In Central Auckland and Howick, you've got Sport Auckland. They've got just under $1 million, and Active, who are a regional body, hold a pot that goes across those areas. So if you're looking to run a project that might be in the Sport Auckland area and the Harbour area and West Auckland, for example, then your fund will be directed to the regional pot, we call it. So it's an opportunity for you to have one conversation rather than three, which is quite helpful. So that's the overview. I'm going to take as many questions as we need to a bit later on, but I'm just going to crack into the what do we mean by need, and I'm going to hand over to Javed.
Kia ora everyone. So I guess the biggest thing with the Te Manawa Fund is about giving opportunities to those that are missing out, and also I guess how do we know who are those that are missing out, and finding evidence. And obviously a big part of this kaupapa is finding evidence with your work and supporting that with, whether it be stats, whether it be community that's telling you what they want. So I'm going to cover off a few, I guess, some stats and some things that you might find interesting, and obviously give you some ideas of where to look. So we've got this PowerPoint will be put up online, and you will see that the Voice of the Rangatahi survey is one, and that looks at our students from 13 to 18 and what they want with sports. So they identified that they need more social sport and they need more opportunities to participate when, for example, a school might not have enough teams, and how can we get them physically active in that as well. Sport New Zealand also has some great insights tools, so they have some great information on their website that can be reached through their insights tab, through their research and data tab, and we're going to cover off some of that through their Active NZ survey, and then obviously trying to get the voice of your target group as well. So if we go on to the next one, Dave, and I've pulled out some of these stats from the Active New Zealand website, Active New Zealand survey, which Sport New Zealand run. And I guess what we're looking at here is 41% of our 5 to 17-year-olds are too busy to participate in physical activity. So what are we doing in terms of creating opportunities for those that are not physically active? How can we get them more physically active? Furthermore, you've got 91% of our 5 to 17-year-olds who participate in physical activity over a 7-day period, which is a great number, but we are below the national average of 94%. So how do we get ourselves, as West Aucklanders, get our community to be physically active in that sense? What is really sad to kind of see is that only 4% of our 5 to 17-year-olds meet Ministry of Health guidelines for physical activity. So that's moderate to intense physical activity for 1 hour a day, every 7 days across a week. So only 4%, which is, we look at the average amount of physical activity is 10 hours, but it is not very strenuous. So how do we support this? And obviously the biggest reason why our 5 to 17-year-olds participate in physical activity is for fun. So these are some statistics that we've drawn from the Active NZ survey, which is available on the Sport New Zealand website. And then you can go through and it breaks down into regional areas for Auckland. So that's one way of getting information, and that's through data and through statistics. But statistics can only tell us so much. So what the other way is through community consultation, and that's by going to the people and asking them what they want. So here are some photos of what we did with a local community group, and what they wanted to do with their green space out there. And you can see that if you give them the opportunity, they really do come out in droves and tell you what they want. So although you might have some great ideas, it's really cool to go out and test your ideas and talk to some people and talk to them about how you can what they want and how you can really target that, and with that creates a stronger application for you because you're evidencing the need that is within our community. So with that in mind, if we have any questions about how to capture any information, we're really keen to to support you with that, or if you or maybe you have an idea and we can flesh it out about how you can really make sure that there is a need with that.
Okay, thanks for that, Javid. I guess that's kind of our very brief recap on Te Manawa, and also just a bit of an idea of what we mean by need and identified need. So from here, essentially, the floor is open. I'm not sure if anyone's got any specific questions that they want to ask about Te Manawa, if they want to ask about their project. As I say, there's a bunch of people here who can help with some of the ideation part of your project. So I guess the floor is now open for anyone to anyone to speak. So unmute yourself and let us know. I just see Andu's come into the room there. Hi, Andu.
Hello. Hi there.
So we've just opened the floor, Andu. I'm not sure if you've got any kind of questions about your project or about Te Manawa in general. Open floor.
Okay. So is there
hi there. I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, hi, Nikki. Yep. No, go
Hi.
for it,
Hey.
Nikki.
So I'm from the local rugby club. I'm from the Waitākere Rugby Club, and I'm just wondering. I coordinate the juniors at the Waitākere Rugby Club, and we have like a sevens program that we run over summer, and I'm wondering, is that something that we could apply for, and how is the best way for us to evidence the need for this program?
Yeah, good question. I guess what you're trying to understand is what is your target market, and what is the kind of the need for the project, right? Because it's quite easy to identify if you've run sevens tournaments in the past that you're just going to run the same thing. And I guess the advice we're getting from Sport New Zealand is that this doesn't want to fund same. It will fund existing projects, but what is the difference you're making in terms of who you're trying to access or who you're trying to get along to that project, etc. So evidence in the need. Who are you targeting exactly? Sorry, are you targeting? Is it juniors? So
yeah, so we're targeting the juniors. So I guess it's from would be maybe under 9 to maybe under 13, maybe older. If I'm just I think.
Fine. So it'd be finding out kind of where you're going. So I guess around the schools, around where you're based, around talking to some of the schools, or even talking to us to try and understand the kind of demographic makeup. And if you're targeting, say, Henderson North Primary School, for example, or something, then we know that X amount of their kids either come from highly deprived areas or are of certain demographics. So actually, if you're targeting them, then you're targeting groups that make up some of those some of those kind of, I guess, hard to reach groups or groups that aren't accessing sport. Additionally, if you've got very specific targets within your project, so what you might say is, hey, look, we always get really great attendance from a certain amount of groups. They always come down, but we really struggle with women and girls. So our target for this project is actually going to be that side of the event or the project, or whatever it might be. So, and again, women and girls is a massive target for us, right up to age 24. So, so yeah, I mean, that's how your kind of thinking needs to go. And in terms of that need, depending on who you're targeting, and there's a whole bunch of information out there to find out, you know, that just essentially says you're aiming for women and girls. There are massive issues with the amount of girls that are actually playing sport. Apologies for my daughter in the background. Yeah, so does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're more than happy to help you do that as well. So like I say, if you connect with, we've got Michael and Pauline and the team who are working across our schools, particularly in this local area, they can connect you in with those schools to at least have that conversation as well about, hey, look, we're looking to put on the Sevens tournament. What do you guys think about, you know, will your kids come along, etc.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Cool. A question on the Facebook group from Hoot Quarters. Thanks for coming along, team. Is it open to only non-profit? No, it's open to any legal entity, charitable trust, or you can be for-profit. That's absolutely fine. So, yeah, no, we'd welcome a application from you guys. Okay. Any more questions from the floor? Anything?
I have one, Dave. It's Andu. Yeah.
Hi, Andu.
On the ball. I just wanted to ask, how important is it to have the exact names of the schools and I guess the community hubs, and to have had the conversation about the delivery, specific conversation in the application? So how important is it to have all this specific information in the application, or is it also there is some flexibility around, for instance, say we're looking to deliver in schools, we're looking at this particular years or this, you know, age from I don't know, 9 to 14, just an example here, and we're looking at, you know, kids from schools that are low decile, but without necessarily having a and saying that maybe, yeah, we did look at the local need where we talked to a school or another school, but we will also be recruiting more. Is there a room for that to be kind of, you know, open, saying we will look to deliver and then recruit schools, or do you actually have to have pretty much everything locked in, have the discussions and put that information in the application?
Yeah. I would say you'd have to have a fairly good idea of who you're going to approach. I think you can have kind of agreements in principle with some of the things that will be locked in later on down the line. However, this is the whole the point of understanding what the need is, right? Because if any project like yourselves come in and say, hey, we're going to deliver to 5 decile 5 schools, for example, and we're going to get 100 kids at each, that doesn't show identified need. That just shows that, hey, we're going to go out and deliver our sport or activity and we're going to recruit these people. So how do we know that the community or the school or the kids have asked for that activity? So there's an element of, I think, having a really decent idea, or at least at a conversational level with the school, to say, hey, look, we've had this conversation. In principle, they're keen, but we just need to, you know, I guess, iron out the finer detail. I think particularly in this first round of funding as well, you know, we've got till October the 12th for applications to come in. So from that perspective, it's a shorter time frame than we would have had previously. So with the next funding round that comes up in, I think opens in about February, I guess there's an expectation then that between now and February, you'd have had the time to speak to those schools, understand what their needs are, and probably come the application time, you would almost certainly have them all locked in. Again, at least in principle, so you could say, well, if we get the funding, then we'll deliver. So yes, I think in summary, long answer, we would like you to have a fairly good idea and have at least have had a conversation with those communities, with those schools, with those groups. However, I think there's a bit of flexibility over actually having, you know, the specific kids or the specific you know, dates, etc., because there is some flexibility around that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Cool.
I have a question. What type of insights, like what type of insights are you after for the application? Is it more percentages? Is it surveys? Is it everything? What's our kind of, yeah, do we want it local level? Do we want it high level? Just everything, really. What's the best form of information that you need?
I think that's it. Yeah, that's a great question there, Deepika. I think really what you want to do is you can start yourself off with some high level data, so you can look at, you know, you can look at a group as a whole. For example, if we look at the Waitākere rugby example, is very much, you can talk about, okay, women and girls are less likely to participate, they're less likely to participate in rugby, and then you can talk about it and say, okay, well, we've been in this school, and, you know, these girls say that they really want to try rugby, but they haven't had the opportunity. So, you know, this part, as part of this program, we are going to give, you know, females an opportunity to play rugby for this age group. And I guess that's the really, really big thing there, is you can start off really big and high level, and then as long as you can show that there's a need down on the ground, you know, that's going to be the greatest part there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we've got a question from Kathy just come through on the Facebook group as well. She's talked about a lot of information she wants to go away and think. Good idea, I think. However, growing participation of women 5 to 24 is very broad. Yes, I agree. With targeting specific ethnic groups who have low participation in organised sports, i.e. netball, would that be better? Yeah, good, very good question. I think yes, targeting some ethnic groups would be good. I think particularly those that have been identified through Tūmanawa as low participating groups, so particularly Māori, Pacifica, and a lot of our kind of Asian communities. So I don't think you always need to drill down to that level. However, if that's something that you're really keen to do specifically, then I would encourage you to do so. And again, to find out that specific need, or to access those communities, to speak to them about how that could be delivered, we can certainly help you with that. Because I think, you know, it's all well and good having a women and girls program, or a specific, say, a Pacifica program, but actually what is the kind of tikanga, or whatever it might be, that we might need to wrap around that to make them feel safe in that environment. And we're very keen to, as I mentioned before, see those innovative programs to address that. So if you are looking to do something specifically for almost like a group and then a subgroup, so women and girls and then an ethnic group, then yeah, very, very keen to help you do that and understand how best to deliver that. Quite an undertaking, but keen to see that kind of innovation in some of the projects for sure.
And I think the biggest part to that also is, you know, 5 to 24 is quite a big age range. So, you know, there's a lot of conversations around the drop off of sport participation, especially 13 and up, and then again when they leave school from 18 to 24. So, you know, this could be an opportunity for someone to have a good innovative program that really gets these people going.
Yeah, and I think you can be quite targeted in that. I think it does say 5 to 24, but don't think that that's the range. You know, they're all on the same court playing. Certainly if you came along and you said, hey, I just want to target that, I don't know, that drop-off range, you know, that kind of 14 to say 16, 17, and that you're going to, you know, do something really innovatively different. Like, really interested to hear that. Even I guess that early 20s is quite, yeah, quite a tough crowd to get in, particularly in the female space. So, yeah, really keen to hear some of your ideas about getting that, and I'm sure Tūmanawa can certainly help in that space. Another question on the Facebook page: for the Junior Sevens tournament, what can the funding be used to pay for? Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned before, and hopefully you can all still see my screen. Let me just jump back a few. So I guess the project delivery, some of the equipment, which I'm sure you will need, some of the officials for the I guess the delivery of the event, and also some of the delivery staff wages that are directly attributable to the project. So in setting that up, you can look at some of that. hopefully that ticks most of the boxes in terms of what you want to pay for. Even having a few questions back to Sport New Zealand and back to Active, if there was anything around marketing and comms that maybe you were thinking about that is directly attributable to the project, again, there's potential that you could put that in your application as well. It's worth putting in for sure. Another question from Kathy: does Sport Waitākere have existing relationships with our ethnic communities for the sporting organisations who don't? Yes, we do, for quite a few. I would suggest we don't know every single ethnic community, but we've certainly got a lot of different specific community organisations that we work with. And actually part of our work is that we're quite keen to reach out and find more. So if in the corridor with yourselves, Kathy, at Netball Waitākere, if you wanted to have a conversation around a specific group, then we could actually make it a bit of a task of ours to go out and connect with that group on your behalf if capacity didn't allow it at your end. So yeah, reach out, let us know what groups you're looking to engage, and we'll certainly do our best to either link you up or have an initial conversation with them.
Yeah, and I think further to that is, you know, we've got 2 resources here that can support, especially in the Asian and Pacifica space. So, you know, if they are, and then the South Asian space as well, which I can support in as well. So, if there are spaces that you are looking at, we're keen to hear, and we're happy to support where we need be.
Very good. Okay. We just gone over half an hour. We were under the impression this might last for about half an hour, depending on the questions coming through. Had a few on the Facebook Live, and obviously we've got a few in the group here who've given some questions. So I'll open the floor again for another maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and if there's nothing else coming through, then we'll knock it on the head there for now. Just an FYI for all of you that are listening, I guess, we're going to be running these sessions every Monday between now and the 12th of October, when the fund finishes, Monday the 12th of October. So if you feel like even at this point you've got a bit of information, you want to go away and have a bit of a crack at it and then come back and discuss it in this forum, give yourself obviously 7 or 8 Sport Waitākere people you can bounce ideas off, and we can kind of help you kind of co-design it a little bit. Alternatively, if this isn't the kind of forum you want to do that, and you literally want to pick up the phone to one of the staff, then I've left the, or drop an email, I've left the email addresses here. So please feel free to contact any of those and have a bit of a corridor. We want to help you access the money. Essentially, if we don't get the money out the door to community organisations, it disappears back to Sport New Zealand headquarters, and we don't want that. We want to retain it in West Auckland. Kathy, another question. Would you suggest co-partnering with another sporting code, and could that be a better targeted approach? Yes, I mean, again, I think we're really keen on the innovation and a different kind of approach. Maybe that's it, you know, maybe the ability to come in and be part of one project and try netball and, you know, I mean, I think Netball Waitākere and Netball Waitākere, yeah, and Waitākere Rugby, you guys are literally just down the road from each other. And I'm not saying that's the mix that's going to happen, but certainly that's a really good collaboration. If you think geographically, you're right next to each other. So yeah, like you say in the comment there, Kathy, if you wanted to apply, one of you wanted to apply and it was part of a bigger project, and you wanted to yeah, work off each other like that to share the experience of people being able to try different codes, and then as a result of that either go into whether it's some kind of competitive opportunity or opportunity just to continue playing netball at Netball Waitākere or down to the rugby club. Also, obviously, you've got the T-Pi Tennis Club right across the road there. So yeah, really interested in that, really interested to see how we're offering people the opportunity to be active and almost choose their choose the code that they want to engage in, really. So yeah, lots of opportunity there. Okay, I think, unless there's any more comments on that, unless there's any more comments on the Facebook, which I don't think there is. I've just got a child screaming behind me, apologies. then we'll leave it there. So thank you to those who attended and for those who logged on online on the Facebook Live page. Anything else from anyone else? As I say, the contact details are on the screen there. Please just drop any one of those an email. Also, if you go on the Sport Waitākere website, you will see the About Us, and it's got all our staff contact details, phone numbers, emails, and what everyone does as well. So if you wanted to pick someone specifically to have a conversation with, you're more than welcome to do that. Also on our, we've got a West Auckland Club Leaders Facebook page. We've also got the Sport Waitākere Facebook page, and we'll be posting a lot of information up there, information about these sessions, etc. So yeah, keep an eye out on that forum, and if as we move forward, anyone wants any more information, that's the place to be. So with that, I will close. Kia ora everyone, thank you for your time, and we will talk soon. Ka kite.
Will do, thank you.